Welcome to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. I'm your host, Katie Mox, and coming up on today's show, the Steelers, probably one of the biggest question marks coming into the season. Would this be Mike Tomlin's first losing season with the franchise? Well, the rookies have something to say about that. Quarterback Kenny Pickett and wide receiver George Pickens both rising in the ranks for Offensive Rookie of the Year award, but which one should get your bet? We'll take a look at the NFL regular season player props on the offensive side of the ball and let you know where we're putting our money. And of course, I will give you my Mox Locks for the MLB slate tonight. But first, let's welcome back Danny Brasco to the show. Danny, rough comment section for us on Friday there with the MMA fans. I think they thought we were replacing a different show. Relax, people. You still got your show. And Danny gave you some good picks. Danny, how you feeling today?
I'm good. I mean, as you know, MMA fans are savages, so it'll be strictly business from here on out. I'll give them just math from now on. None of the fun stuff, right? But let's take a look at Leon Rocky Edwards. Wow, and new. I mean, he stole victory from the jaws of defeat with an amazing, perfect head kick. So it's one of the biggest and maybe the greatest comeback in UFC history. I'm glad I did the sprinkle on him. So hopefully you guys cashed that at plus 320, plus 280 where you got that. That was a nice hit. Mixed results overall, but what a card and what a hit on the underdog Edwards.
Yeah, that was a very, I think even on Twitter, I was looking at the comments. People were like, oh, there's no way that Edwards can win this. You might as well call it the fight. And then all of a sudden it was over and Edwards had won. So good sprinkle.
On the commentary team, DC was saying, I mean, they were literally writing his obituary. They were saying, man, Edwards, he's waited all this time to get to the shot. He's not doing this. He looks tired. He's defeated. He's a broken fighter. Bang, head kick. Good night.
Now, what do you say? So there's some people that are like, oh, the fix is in, UFC is fixed. Is this something where your fixed light bulb goes off, or you're like, no, that was just a clean hit and he won?
Hell no. This is the way that happened was unfixable. Of course, fight sports, combat sports, they've been known to be mafia influenced since, the early days of boxing. And that pervades through other, combat sports. So I'm not going to say that it's unfixable. We know how it can go in the fight game, but that what happened with Edwards and Usman, you couldn't write that.
You couldn't write that. All right. Well, Danny, stick right there. It's time for my Mox thought of the day. The NFL preseason is underway, and there is a clear breakout star. Steelers wide receiver George Pickens. Preseason or not, bettors are heavily weighing in on this guy, and they're taking notice. Even his teammate, Deontay Johnson, is impressed. He said, this kid is a freak, and I don't know how he makes half of those catches. So last week on Caesars Sportsbook, Pickens was 14th in tickets and 8th in handle overall among all NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year bets placed. Well, this week, he's now 3rd in tickets and 5th in handle at plus 1,000. His teammate, Kenny Pickett, the quarterback, is still the favorite to win the award at plus 900. So should you bet on Pickens or Pickett? It's like a tongue twister there, right? Pickens, Pickett. I don't know. I'm going to pick Pickett at plus 900. So he's in a quarterback battle right now with Trubisky. And I think I've seen everything that I need to see out of Trubisky. I saw everything I need to see out of him actually when he was with the Bears. But Pickett, on the other hand, has been really impressive. In just 2 preseason games, Pickett is 19 of 22 for 171 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 138.6 passer rating. Historically, this award has gone to either quarterbacks or running backs. Of the last 10 years, only 2 wide receivers have won this award, including last year. When I look at the entire slate of the people that are up for this, I feel like it's going to go to either a quarterback or a running back this year. There are other wide receivers that I would put in front of Pickens. So I'm going to go with the quarterback on this one. I feel like it's the safer bet because I do think that Pickett will be starting this year over Trubisky. So, Danny, you heard what I had to say, this tongue twister here. Who are you going to pick, Pickett or Pickens? Who are you picking?
I'm picking Pickens, if you could understand what I said and decipher between who you picked, because this is really hard. But I'm going with the receiver. I mean, yeah, he's lighting up training camp right now in the preseason. The highlight reel is on display. And a lot of the question surrounding him was, will the Steelers re-sign Deontay Johnson? They did that. So immediately you're like, oh, man, there goes his target share. Deontay Johnson's a volume receiver. But, he could take a lot of the load off him and maybe, get freed up some double teams. So I feel like if Kenny Pickett is going to be contribute more to the air raid than potential that Trubisky would, then Pickens' opportunities go up along with Kenny Pickett. So maybe he is the standout receiver that we assume he looks to be. And I'll ride with George Pickens out of Georgia here. I mean, he looks like a beast.
He does look like a beast. Okay, so let's hop into some of the big categories for player props for the regular season in the offense. And we're going to start here with quarterbacks. The most regular season passing yards. You've got Justin Herbert and Tom Brady tied as favorites at plus 700. Then you got Matthew Stafford at plus 750, Patrick Mahomes at plus 800, Joe Burrow plus 950, and Derek Carr rounding out the favorites at plus 1,000. Who do you like here, Danny?
It's tough. I mean, I'm picking from some studs. I mean, all those odds and all those names, like it's hard to be mad at any of those choices. I'm just all in on the Chargers this year, Katie. It's Herbie fully loaded. You've said it time and time again, and I agree with you.
I love him.
Right? I mean, we're very high on him, and he threw for over 5,000 yards last season. He came in second to Thomas, Eugene Brady. And, he lost by 300 yards, but he attempted 47 fewer passes. So, look, if he had the same attempts, 47 more passes, that equals you win the league lead. I just think that they could win the division. He could lead multiple passing stat categories, and I want to ride Justin Herbert this season in his third year. The main question for Brady, who led the league in yards and TD passes, is the offensive line. He has to have a rock-solid offensive line, and there are question marks in Tampa about that, about their health, about how they'll sync together. So the other quarterbacks like Mahomes, he lost Tyreek Hill. He's amazing still, but feels sketchy. Stafford, there's some elbow injuries. They lose their offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell, who goes to the Vikings. So for me, I feel like it's Burrow or Herbert with those odds. I'm going to roll Herbert. Your thoughts?
So, I'm really high on Justin Herbert this year, too. If you watch this show at all, Herbie fully loaded. I have such high expectations for him, and I do love this. And to your point, it is tough with Tom Brady. Tom Brady has won this award 4 times throughout his career, including last year when he had over 5,000 passing yards. Drew Brees, of course, leads the pack here with 7. Tom, in his last year, wants to get a little bit closer to Drew Brees. You got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who will be healthy eventually this season. And their defense is good enough to get the ball back, but I'm not going to go with Tom either. Basically, for what you said, the O-line is a little bit of a question mark here. Plus, there's still some health issues with their receivers. And I love Herbert, but I'm going to go with Joe Burrow on this one at plus 950. So both Herbert and Joe Burrow have upped their offensive lines and their offensive weapons, which is huge. The one thing that worries me about Burrow is that teams that went to the Super Bowl and didn't end up winning coming off of a loss don't always bounce back that hard. So that's a little bit of a worry for me. However, let me just give you some stats here on Burrow last year. So through 16 games, Burrow led the NFL with the highest passer completion of all quarterbacks at 70.4%. He was also the best quarterback under pressure. It makes a lot of sense because he was under more pressure than anybody I think he was leading in sacks last year. But when it came to yards per attempt under pressure, it was 9.7 and his completion percentage was 64.3. So really, really good under pressure. But here's the thing. The Bengals offensive line has improved. So he's not going to be under as much pressure this year as he was. Fewer hits, probably a higher probability of passing situations. So at plus 950, I'm going to go with Burrow on this one. Moving on, let's talk passing touchdowns. Who's going to have the most passing touchdowns? You got Tom Brady as the favorite, plus 500. Patrick Mahomes, plus 600. Matthew Stafford, plus 700. Justin Herbert, your favorite, plus 800. Aaron Rodgers at plus 850. And Josh Allen at plus 1,000. Who do you like here, Danny?
So, my first instinct was just double down on Justin Herbert, but I want to mix it around, right? These are long shot futures. They're big plus money odds. So if you're sprinkling futures, diversify your portfolio. You got a chance to win. And all you need to do is cash 1 or 2 of them, right? And you're making lots of money. So look, like you said, Brady led last year. He's actually never led a passing touchdown leader in back-to-back years, despite all his success. So of course, he could easily win it again. Bruce Arians, Tampa Bay air raid offense. They add new weapons. Yes, they lose AB and Gronk, but Russell Gage, Julio Jones, and it's Tom Brady. I don't care who he has. I could be playing receiver. He'll probably throw me a couple touchdowns. But at plus 1,000, I'll take a guy who I think is making an MVP campaign this year. I'm going to go with Josh Allen. Now, the first thought I had was, well, he's a dual threat, right? So maybe some of those touchdowns come via the wheels. But I think he shows off that pocket presence a little more in a year where the Bills are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. I think he's going to be that perfect quarterback for them. He actually had 2 games last season without a passing touchdown. Some weird ones, some ones where they went for the run game, some ones where they got oddly kind of blanked on offense. But I think that
Yep.
adding, the weapons that they've added on in the receiving core with Jamison Crowder, Isaiah McKenzie's developing even more. Diggs is a star, and Gabriel Davis is going to break out as a star himself. I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Allen threw for 40 TDs and ran for 10 of them too, and had an outrageous video game season. So at plus 1,000, a guy that I think can win the MVP this year, I'll take Josh Allen.
Okay, I'm going to go with Herbert on this one. I didn't choose him for passing yards, but I am super high on Herbert this year. He had 38 touchdowns last year, which ranked him third in the NFL for the most touchdowns. What I like about Herbert is he spreads the ball around, not only to his receivers, but also the backfield. Austin Eckler, his running back, had the second most passing touchdowns last year. So I'm going to go with Herbert on this one because, again, super, super high on Herbie, fully loaded. All right, let's switch up to most rushing yards. You got Jonathan Taylor at plus 400, King Henry, Derrick Henry at plus 650, Nick Chubb at plus 850, Dalvin Cook plus 1,000, Joe Mixon at plus 1,200, and Antonio Gibson at plus 1,500. Danny, who are you going with?
Once again, I feel like this one's probably a 2-man race, and I think it's between Jonathan Taylor, who won it last year, and Derrick King Henry. Now, Taylor is just 23 and he's entering his 3rd season. King Henry fans aren't going to like this, and I mentioned it in an earlier episode, but there's a large sample size of data that shows regression after a running back returns from a Lisfranc injury. That is what happened to Derrick Henry with the ligaments and bones in his feet. And look, luckily for him, he got injured fairly early on, so he's had plenty of time to recover. And I'm hoping that we do get to see the full King Henry. But I'm not going to bet on things with that data. Bet on Derrick Henry props with that data, knowing that I have a major asterisk next to any bet that I might place on him. The Colts offensive line is top tier. Quentin Nelson, in my opinion, is the best offensive lineman in the NFL. And with Matt Ryan under center now, hopefully he can deter teams a little more than Phillip Rivers did from stacking the box on Taylor. Even with a bad passing offense last season, Taylor had his way with everybody. I mean, he dominated. So I think that he continues that dominance. He's by far and away, I think, the most elite running back in his prime right now. He's just in the pinnacle of his career, and he keeps showing it off, I think, this season. So give me Jonathan Taylor at plus 450.
I love Jonathan Taylor, and I'm super high on him as well. He's also the youngest. He's got the freshest legs at 23 years old. My only thing with him is it is hard to go back-to-back for running back, so that's my question mark for Jonathan Taylor, but I absolutely love that bet. I'm going a little bit more of a long shot on this one. I like Nick Chubb at plus 850. Why? Because we've got Jacoby Brissett, who we've talked about is a decent quarterback. We think that he can manage the game just fine, but he's not doing anything splashy. I feel like the Browns defense is good. They are solid. They can definitely take care of the ball, which means that the offense is not going to have to work that much. I feel like they're going to be running the ball a lot more, taking the pressure off of Brissett. We know that he is injury prone. He has a history of injury throughout any team that he's been on. So I feel like at 850, it's a good value for Nick Chubb here.
Yeah, they got to lean on the workhorse there. The only thing that concerned me is that stack the box question, right? But some of these guys, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, put as many guys in the box as you want. I'm going to run you over. So they're going to have to lean on him. For the MMA fans out there, the Browns offense should look like very much ground and pound, and Nick Chubb should do that. So I'm not mad at that. To me, it was Taylor, Chubb, or Henry, and I like your selection there.
Okay, we're on the same page here. So let's stick with running backs and let's talk about rushing touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, of course, the favorite again at plus 500. Derrick Henry plus 600. Joe Mixon plus 700. Chubb at plus 800. Dalvin Cook at plus 1,000. And Najee Harris at plus 1,500. All of these odds, of course, are on Caesars Sportsbook. Who are you liking for the most rushing touchdowns?
All right, so again, if I'm believing this guy's going to run all over the field, I think he's going to get in the end zone. I want to double down on Taylor. Yeah. I'm not going to, but I'm going to tell you why I would, and then I'm going to give you who I'm going to take. First of all, it's taken at least 16 rushing touchdowns to lead the league in each of the last 5 seasons for that rushing touchdown leader. Jonathan Taylor carried a ball league high 85 times inside the 20-yard line, the most in the NFL since 2000. He scored 14 of those 18 inside the 20, 13 inside the 10, and 11 inside the 5. The reason I bring all those up, he led the league in each of those stat categories. Okay. Now, with all that being said, I got to take a Derrick Henry hedge. What if he doesn't get injured? And I'm just wrong, right? That's a pretty bold prediction. Just assume someone gets hurt. So I have to sprinkle something on King Henry because if he stays healthy, he could dominate. Before he went down, Katie, he was on pace to break records last season. He's that consistent workhorse. You know he's getting the ball 25 times a game. It doesn't matter what the defense is doing. So just on general principle, I got to take a Derrick Henry hedge. So I'll do King Henry in this spot here. But my eyes on Jonathan Taylor. You guys know that.
Same thing. I love Jonathan Taylor for this. He's the favorite for a reason, and King Henry is second in line for a reason. But I'm going to go long shot on this one as well. And I'm going to take Najee Harris at plus 1,500. So we only had 7 rushing touchdowns last year. But again, in a Big Ben offense, it was really predictable, and he was double teamed quite a bit. So we should see some increased volume this year with either Pickett or Trubisky. You already know how I feel about Trubisky. I think that it's going to be Pickett. And if we're looking at a rookie quarterback, well, it's harder to throw the ball in the red zone, which means they're probably going to be leaning on their workhorse a lot more, their star running back, which is Najee Harris. And let's not forget that in 2020, Najee Harris became Alabama's all-time leading rusher. He led in total touchdowns as well as rushing touchdowns. This kid is a stud, and I feel like this could be a breakout year for him. So at plus 1,500, I'm willing to sprinkle a little bit on that one.
1,500 is awesome odds. The reports in training camp are that he's talking all this smack about how it's his year. He's trucking people on the practice field, and he looks bulkier and bigger than ever. So I ain't mad at this from what we're seeing in spring training, or training camp, spring training.
Are there any other long shots that you would look at? I mean, it seems like you agree with me with Najee Harris. We're obviously in alignment for the favorites. Anybody else you think worth a sprinkle there?
No, I love that Najee Harris. I'm not even going to get a convoluted here. That's the sprinkle at plus 1,500, right? Like second year for him, prime time running backs. We're talking about how young Taylor is, right? How young Harris is. You got to get these guys in their prime. We know how short the shelf life is for running back in the NFL. So you want to make future bets and assume that they're going to go the whole way? Yeah, take the young guns.
All right, let's go to wideouts. For the most receiving yards, you got Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp leading the pack at plus 800. Devontae Adams now with the Raiders plus 1,100. Jamar Chase at plus 1,200. And Tyreek Hill, interesting, rounding this out here. Now that he's on Miami Dolphins at plus 1,400. Danny, out of these guys, who do you think is going to have the most receiving yards?
This is Jay Jetta's year. It's Justin Jefferson all day. I think he's breaking records. And I've told you on other episodes before. I mean, he's going to break out. They just got Kevin O'Connell, the offensive coordinator from the Los Angeles Rams, who had Cooper Kupp win the Triple Crown in his system, right? He won every single stat category that you can for a receiver. Jefferson is thrilled to get this guy because previously in Mike Zimmer's offense, it was a little less pass happy and air raid. I think you're going to see him open all the time and get this volume target share. So I think for yardage, he's going to chew him up all over the field. I mean, in his first 2 years, he's already put up over 1,400 plus yards. So he's just going to break out now in his third year. He was second only to the stat leader, Cooper Kupp, last year. So it's really a race between them. And now I've got your old offensive coordinator. So nice, arsenal of weapons there to work with. Now, Kupp definitely has the most established connection with Matt Stafford. And that's why he dominated and won every single stat category. And in their second year together, it feels like the chemistry might only get better. But there's lingering concerns with Stafford's elbow issues. And who knows, maybe the system changes a little bit. So with O'Connell belonging to Minnesota now, I think it's JJ's year. Give me Justin Jefferson to break records and have most yards by a landslide, I think.
I like Justin Jefferson as well for the favorite here, and I agree with you when it comes to Kupp. We don't know what's going on with Stafford's elbow. Plus, I just feel like the Rams went for broke last year. They had all of these pieces together, and now they're pretty thin in a lot of areas. They don't have a ton of depth. So if something were to happen to Cooper Kupp, I feel like the Rams season would be over. So I'm not going to go there in that way. I'm going to go middle of the pack here. I like Devontae Adams at plus 1,000 now that he's on the Raiders. So Carr has never had a true number one wide receiver. And of course, he has that now in Devontae Adams. And in Green Bay, Adams was double teamed, triple teams. You knew that the ball was going to Devontae Adams every single time, that's where Rodgers was going to go. But it didn't even matter because he still caught the ball. I think that still works here with Carr. And what I think is interesting is the receiving core for the Raiders, it's much more expansive. So you would think that maybe that's going to cut into the amount of times that he gets those passes. And maybe, but I think it means he's not going to get double teamed or even triple teamed quite as much. He's going to be much more wide open. So he's going to get more targets and actually more of those deeper targets. You know, Rodgers would throw on those quick 10 and outs because he knew that he would get the ball. I feel like he's going to have much more space here. He's not going to be as double teamed as much. So he's going to get more yards this season. So I like Devontae Adams plus 1,100.
And Hunter Renfrow, I mean, yeah, he's a tough target, right? He takes a ton of volume up. So, yeah, you got to stick him. If he's taking up some of the attention, Adams is going to beast.
I know. I'm so excited to see how this happens. Now, I don't agree with Adams when he said that Carr is a Hall of Famer. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to definitely take that over Carr, but it will be interesting to see because Carr has never had a true number one wide receiver. And they've got McDaniel now, who, of course, was with Tom Brady for a long time. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Okay, so let's stay with receivers and talk the most receiving touchdowns. You've got Cooper Kupp at plus 500 as the favorite, Mike Evans plus 600, Travis Kelce plus 800, Jamar Chase plus 900, Justin Jefferson plus 1,000, and tied with him, Devontae Adams also at plus 1,000. Who do you like to have the most receiving touchdowns?
Perfect segue rolling into more Devontae Adams talk, right? And I like the way you broke it down with the receiving core there, being able to take some of that double, triple team attention off him, hopefully. I think that he could make a statement this year in his first year away from Green Bay, right? Rodgers losing his best man, and maybe now with his real best man from Fresno State, Derek Carr, they've got the connection that we've been waiting to see. Of course, Adams was unbelievable with Aaron Rodgers, but I feel like the ceiling hasn't been reached yet for some reason. Maybe we see a magical connection here. Now, Carr has been managing with Hunter Renfrow as the main red zone target for the Las Vegas Raiders, and Renfrow was targeted 24 times in the red zone last season. He had a 72.7% catch rate. How efficient is that in the red zone? Adams is the best red zone target in the game. So if Carr's doing that with Renfrow, wow, I cannot imagine what they're about to do. Last season, Adams ranked third in red zone targets, fourth in red zone catches. And I already said it, the Fresno State connection. If it's real, if there's some real homey chemistry there coming from college, I mean, maybe they're just everything that we expect. So I'm hoping to see it. Give me Devontae Adams plus 1,000. Any bet on Devontae Adams, I can't be upset with that.
Well, obviously, I have to agree to a certain extent because I just took Devontae Adams in the last category, which I love. Cooper Kupp plus 500. We already know I'm not going there. Mike Evans. I like Travis Kelce at plus 800. So we already know that he's one of Mahomes' favorite targets. There's no Tyreek Hill this year, and he's just a big body, and he's trustworthy. We know that Mahomes can fit it anywhere, and Kelce can get open. All he really needs to do is get those 5 yards. He can block out a DB or a corner and just muscle his way through it, kind of like Gronk used to do. I feel like Kelce might be a sneaky one at plus 800.
And everyone's sleeping on Mahomes. Mahomes lost Hill. Like, that's going to be the big storyline. But low-key, I don't think he takes too many steps back. He's still going to be Patrick Mahomes. And Travis Kelce is still going to be himself, too. So I'm not really mad at that pick at all. I think he could have a huge season filling that void.
You're going to go to who you trust the most. And I feel like at this point with Tyreek Hill gone, he's going to trust Kelce the most. And again, he's got that big body. He's going to be there in the red zone. He can get those 5 yards. So I'm on it at plus 800. Most receptions, we got Cooper Kupp at plus 450, Stephon Diggs plus 700, Devontae Adams, our kind of sneaky favorite here, plus 950, Keenan Allen at plus 1,000, and Travis Kelce at plus 1,200. Danny, who are you thinking for the most receptions?
I hate to go with the favorite and lay the chalk. And again, plus 450, not so much chalk, but Cooper Kupp has to be a bet somewhere in receiving props, right? I can't just hammer Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams. I got to get something on Kupp. He won the Triple Crown last year for a receiver. Unbelievable. He's just always open. It doesn't matter. And I know they lost O'Connell, and I made a lot of points for Jefferson on that, but it doesn't mean that Cooper Kupp loses all his mojo. It's not like the Monstars are going to steal his powers. Like, he had 145 catches last year. That's in year one with Stafford. Their chemistry should get better, right? So, yes, there's some concerns about the nagging elbow injury with Stafford, but, I mean, regardless, Cooper Kupp is going to be open. I don't care who's throwing him the ball. So, Stafford to Kupp, if that stays healthy and can do it, why wouldn't he have another 125 catch season? He's going to be at the top there. Might as well bet at plus 450. Kupp feels pretty safe.
Okay, I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs here at plus 700. He had 103 receptions last year, which is actually a decrease from the 2020 season where he had 127. But we do know that he's Allen's favorite target. There's no more Beasley. And the wide receiver room hasn't exactly changed. His projection this year is around 110 receptions. And look, they have to win a Super Bowl. If we expect Allen to be as good as Allen is going to be this year, then you got to have Stephon Diggs in the mix here as his number one target. They spent so much money. It's Super Bowl or bust for them this year. So I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs at plus 700. I think he's going to have a banner year. Okay, now it's time for Mox Locks, where Danny and I give you our best bets for the MLB slate tonight. I'm going to start things off. Unfortunately, Danny, I'm taking the Mets on the run line versus the Yankees. This is at plus money. It's at plus 105 on Caesar Sportsbook. So, Danny, as you know, what's going on with the Yankees? Because they're in a serious slump right now. They've dropped 9 of their last 12. They have lost 6 straight series for the first time since 1995. You've got Mad Max, righty Max Scherzer on the mound tonight. He's 9-2 of the season, but since coming back from injury, he's 4-1 with a 1.82 ERA. The Yankees will start Domingo Germán. He's 1-2 on the season with a 4.45 ERA. Scherzer coming off of a season high of 4 earned runs against Atlanta. Feel like he's going to want a little bit of a bounce back here. The Yankees bats have been struggling, while the Mets, on the other hand, they have 3 players hitting at least 300 over the last 15 games. I got to go with the Mets on this one. I'm not sure if the Yankees have it. What do you think?
You have no argument for me. I'm not touching this game with a 10-foot pole. My Yankees are falling in quicksand right now. Someone needs to do something, but I'm not going against Mad Max here. I mean, I looked at the line, I looked at the game, and there's no other bet other than Mets or Mets run line here. So, yeah, I'm
well,
scared
the Mets,
of it.
you got Mad Max at plus money, and with the way that the Yankees have been skidding and how well the Mets have been doing, it seems. I mean, it might be a trap, but to me, it seems like an easy bet to make here. So let's see. Next up, I'm looking at Moxie Bets for the Dodgers. Over 1.5 total bases is at minus 117. He averages above this at 2.23 bases per game this season. You got Lauer on the mound for the Brewers. He had a fantastic start. The last time that these two teams matched up, he had no runs for the first 5 innings. Then he gave up a homer that ended up getting 2 earned runs from Max Muncy. But Betts has just been on fire recently. He's on a 3-game hitting streak coming into this game. During his last 5 outings, he's batting at .350 with a double, a triple, a home run, 2 walks, and 2 RBIs. The guy's too hot, so at 1.5 total bases at minus 117. Feel good about this one.
Yeah, and I always like the lefty-righty matchup. You're going to bet on a hitter. I want that split. And, he's seen him already. You just mentioned that Lauer faced these Dodgers very recently. So maybe with that experience under his belt now, another shot at it, and he's on a hot streak. I like that Betts play for sure.
All right, what are you looking at tonight?
All right, I have a new bet that I like, and it's finding a pitcher to record a win. And obviously, your pitcher's going to have to go 5+ innings. Your team's going to have the lead. And then they'll have to win the game for you to complete those. So it is a proposition bet that's going to require a few things to happen. However, if you feel like there's a strong favorite and you're betting that favorite because you like the pitching matchup, well, then if your narrative plays out, you can get good plus money odds on something instead of maybe laying juice on a money line. And I'm finding a spot here in the Cardinals-Cubs game. Cardinals are on a 7-game win streak right now. I don't think it's going to stop. They've been playing really well on the road, and they got Jordan Montgomery pitching tonight. Jordan Montgomery was a Yankee this season, and we traded him for Harrison Bader. Now, that was a good trade, getting Harrison Bader, who's injured right now, but will be back, sort of a contingency plan just in case Aaron Judge doesn't come back.
Yeah.
So he's a really good outfielder, and I love to have him next year. But we've spent so much time developing Jordan Montgomery, and finally he's come into full form. Now, in terms of the GM side, I get it. You have to kind of sell your stock when it's at its highest. But Montgomery has finally figured out how to throw that sinker. And that's perfect in St. Louis. They have one of the best defenses in the game. The sinker ball induces ground balls. It's so hard to get anything on it. You just hit it like a bowling ball right back into the ground. And the Cardinals' defense is fantastic. Montgomery's looked perfect in St. Louis in his first couple starts there. Like, perfect fit. I've already cashed this a couple times from Montgomery to record the win. So on a 7-game win streak, covering the run line in 6 of those last 7 games, Montgomery to record the win at plus 130. Very confident in him to be able to go 5+ innings and the Cardinals to pull this one out. Give me Montgomery win.
Give me Montgomery win. All right, I'm going to tail that one. I mean, all of the stats that you just laid out would be hard to bet against. What are the odds on that one?
Plus 130. Caesar Sportsbook, baby.
Plus 130 to record a win. Let's go. All right, what's your next bet?
All right, I'm going to go with an over here. I like the over in the Braves-Pirates game. Set at 8.5. It might be moving up to 9. I wouldn't be surprised if you see money coming in the over and the line adjusts, because it just looks like a favorable pitching matchup. First of all, the Pirates in the last 2 games gave up 19 runs combined to the Cincinnati Reds. And they used every reliever under the sun, so their bullpen's going to be depleted. They obviously can't pitch or giving up 19 runs to the Reds. Now you get the Braves coming into your house here. Braves have been playing very well on the road, and pitching for them is Jake Odorizzi. They acquired him from the Houston Astros, trying to get a little more pitching depth. Since he's coming over Atlanta, horrible. Every start, getting absolutely lit up. So with pitching that I don't trust, The Pirates with a depleted bullpen and given up a lot of runs already in their last 2 games. Now a Braves offense who's hot on the road with a pitcher that I don't trust for them either. I think this spells offense. Give me the over 8.5. If you have over 9, that's fine with me too. I think we see some runs in this one.
Yeah, giving up 19 runs is what you said it was. That's a lot. So
Over the last 2 games, if you're going to give up 19 runs to the Cincinnati Reds and you get the Braves, good luck, brother.
Good luck, brother. All right, Danny, thanks so much for joining the show. This has been Moxie Bets presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Make sure you follow us on social at Moxie Bets. You could follow me as well at Katie Mox on Twitter and at Katie Mox Bets on Instagram. We'll see you Wednesday.